It is critical for quality and validation professionals to stay on the pulse of emerging policies and regulations. From the FDA's computer software assurance draft to the newly released EU medical device general safety and performance guidance, evolving regulations are a constant. Our network of professionals cover these topics and more in print, in person, and online, bringing the latest industry news and tools to our audience of hardworking experts just like you. The IVT network gives you the tools you need to succeed in your profession, providing innovative content, industry research, lifelong learning, and opportunities for networking on a global level. For our listeners, receive 15 months for the price of 12 plus an exclusive discount with your new subscription. Subscribe today with IVT Network, the best decision you'll make all year for your life sciences career.
This is Voices in Validation, brought to you by IVT Network. IVT Network is your expert source for life science regulatory knowledge. Voices in Validation brings you the best in validation and compliance topics. We interview industry experts from pharma, biotech, med devices, and laboratories. Here is the host of Voices in Validation, Stacey.
And welcome to another episode of Voices in Validation, brought to you by the IVT Network. Late last year, the FDA announced innovative quality management maturity pilot programs for manufacturers of drug products and active pharmaceutical ingredients. Results of this pilot program are intended to aid in the creation of a future rating system for drug makers, ranking the maturity of their quality management systems. Such a rating system and associated incentives for mature rating could lead to a renewed effort in risk management and provide motivation for companies to invest in their QRMs and the resources surrounding them. Here today to provide some insight into the long-term vision and the pilot study, which is just underway, are FDA veterans Jennifer Maguire, Nandini Rakala, Alex Veman, Carla Lundy, and Lyle Canida. Welcome to all of you. What a great panel of guests.
Thank you.
So we'll hop right in with the first question I have for you. Last fall, the announcement was made that new pilot programs aimed at quality management maturity, an eventual vehicle for ranking a manufacturer's quality system maturity, was announced. Lyle, can you provide our listeners with an overview of that program?
Certainly, Stacey. So FDA's Office of Pharmaceutical Quality has contracted with two third-party vendors to conduct two pilot programs that will support the development of a framework for objectively assessing and rating the quality management maturity, or QMM, of manufacturing sites. One pilot program is focused on domestic manufacturers of finished dosage forms, or FDFs, and the other pilot is focused on foreign manufacturers of active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs. Each vendor will develop a QMM assessment tool, train a limited number of FDA staff on performing QMM assessments, and conduct facilitated QMM assessments of the manufacturing sites that volunteer to participate. The assessments consist of objective scores across multiple elements of QMM. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, most, if not all, the assessments will be conducted virtually. Additionally, the pilot will solicit feedback from industry participants on their assessment experience, such as what's relevant, what could be better, what gaps do we have, and other things.
Thank you, Lyle. That's fantastic. In addition to that, I know that you mentioned the assessments are being conducted by a third-party vendor. Is the ongoing pandemic-related environment, I know you said that all of these are being done virtual for now. Does this allow for the comprehensive results you were hoping for? And what is the anticipated end date for this pilot program?
Yes, because of the ongoing pandemic, we do expect to complete the pilot phase assessments using a facilitated virtual approach. Participants will be asked to perform a self-assessment based on the developed framework. The contractors will then engage with the participant to perform the facilitated virtual assessment, which will confirm the self-assessment ratings through follow-up questions and the collection of evidence that substantiate or support the ratings. As an example, the site may have a quality policy in place, but a QMM assessment would consider how actively the site reviews the quality policy for their own continuous improvement. The pilots will also inform us of the value of virtual assessments as we consider various approaches to QMM assessments in a functional program. The pilot programs with the vendors are expected to be completed by the end of this fiscal year, September 30th, 2021. However, FDA does expect to engage further with participating sites after the pilot assessments are completed to receive feedback on the experience and overall assessment protocols.
So, and just in follow up to that real quick, Lyle, you may not even know the answer at this point in time, but if the program, once the pilot is done and the actual program is rolled out to additional participants, is the plan to keep it a virtual program, or is the idea to eventually have folks on site?
Yeah, ideally we'd like to have folks on site, but this way we're about to explore, doing a virtual assessment to see how effective that is. And then in the future, right now we're developing and learning. We'll develop the framework and determine those steps in the future, but this will give us the opportunity to see how effective it is virtually versus an on-site assessment.
Sure, yeah, no, and that makes total sense given, the current environment. So thank you for that. Carla, can you speak about the incentives for the sites that have volunteered to participate in this pilot program?
Sure, Stacey. As an incentive for participating in these pilots, volunteer sites will receive QMM assessment reports indicating topic areas where they exhibit higher levels of maturity, as well as areas with suggestions for improvement. Feedback from the QMM assessments can empower a company's continual improvement program and improve the overall effectiveness of their pharmaceutical quality system. In addition to participating, manufacturers could benefit in the future by better understanding QMM ratings when they roll out and begin to enable healthcare systems, other purchasers, and payers of medications to differentiate among drug manufacturers. Pilot participants have agreed to share information amongst each other to support the pilot program initiatives and gain a better understanding of QMM, to share best practices and provide valuable feedback to FDA. Most importantly, through participation in the QMM pilot program, sites will have a seat at the table in assessing and influencing strategic decisions that shape policy and the future of the QMM program.
Excellent, thank you very much. So Jennifer, what was the catalyst for creation of this pilot program, which, as we just heard, could incentivize drug makers to invest in quality management systems in their facilities?
That's a great question. So drug shortage definitely remains an issue that the agency is working to address. And we still have about 60% of shortages being caused by quality issues. So going back to 2019, there was actually a multi-agency drug shortage task force that was formed, and their responsibility was to write a report for Congress. And the name of that report was Drug Shortages, Root Causes, and Potential Solutions. So in that report, one of the root causes of drug shortages that was identified is the fact that the market doesn't presently recognize and reward manufacturers for having mature quality management systems. So the proposed enduring solution for that was to create a rating system that would incentivize drug manufacturers to invest in quality and to achieve higher levels of maturity. So additionally, the data related to quality management maturity assessments fills a current gap in our knowledge that's related to the effectiveness of a manufacturing site's pharmaceutical quality system, or PQS. So QMM assessment topics really delve into business processes that are outside of what's currently covered in the standard inspection program, and it's designed to measure above the bar behaviors. So the research that we've conducted over the past several years has really indicated that mature pharmaceutical quality systems can lead to substantial efficiency gains, and those gains are related to timeliness, yield, effectiveness, and availability. So this information from quality management maturity assessments will enable the agency to further improve decision-making that's related to regulatory flexibility and resource allocation.
Excellent. It sounds like there's a lot of great information, and people are going to really be able to better understand where they are in terms of their quality management. So I can see this being a very effective program. So thanks for sharing that. So we've seen, as everyone is aware, a lot of disruption over the past year across the industry. Alex, is it your expectation that these programs, when adopted, would help in early detection of drug shortages and supply chain issues?
Yeah, thanks, Stacey. Great question. And I think we can all agree that manufacturing and quality hazards are a frequent cause of product availability issues, and that the interests of patients are served best by risk-based drug shortage prevention and mitigation activities that help to manage supply chain complexities and ensure availability of needed medicines. And an effective pharmaceutical quality system, PQS, uses quality risk management principles to manage product availability risks related to hazards within both the operations of a pharmaceutical company and its external partners. So we believe that sites who use this framework will drive both supply chain robustness and sustainable GMP compliance, and that these provide the foundation for reliable operations and product availability. And that assuring product availability depends upon effective supply chain and logistics management, which consists of supply planning, understanding hazards related to the movement of goods, and the mitigation of risks that could impact on-time and good condition deliveries. The integration of manufacturing design, supply partner oversight, and demand forecasting can lead to the optimization of inventory levels and improvement in customer service levels, for example, delivery performance, which in the end will decrease the likelihood of supply disruptions. And so this means that more mature sites will be able to anticipate and resist supply chain disruptions.
Yeah, absolutely. They can forecast it well before they get to that point, right? That's the hope.
Exactly. Yeah, much more proactive,
Right.
proactive measures in place and the behaviors to really have that enterprise level oversight around the supply chain and all the complexities and interdependencies that exist.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So does the FDA see this program as next steps in the progression towards the efficient, agile, flexible manufacturing sector as laid out originally in the Pharmaceutical Quality for the 21st Century report back from 2004? Carla, can you speak to that?
Sure. Of course it does. The QMM program is another step towards realizing the vision for pharmaceutical quality in the 21st century, a maximally efficient, agile, flexible manufacturing sector that reliably produces high quality drug products without extensive regulatory oversight. Substantial research conducted by trade associations, academics, and regulators now makes it clear that quality management maturity is essential to achieve this vision. This could give the pharmaceutical industry more flexibility in adopting new technologies, making changes, and improving quality. Pharmaceutical quality is achieved by assuring every dose of a drug is safe and effective, free of contamination and defects. Patients and consumers deserve to be confident that quality medicines will be available and that access to these medicines will not be impeded by avoidable drug shortages or supply disruptions. A QMM rating system will increase transparency and incentivize pharmaceutical manufacturing quality.
Thank you, Carla. So, Alex, how are the FDA quality metrics and QMM programs connected?
Great question. Yeah, and so I can take you from a historical perspective. And so in response to increases in drug shortages about 8 or 9 years ago, the FDA issued a Federal Register notice to elicit ideas from stakeholders on how the agency could be a little bit more proactive to anticipate these and mitigate drug shortages. And it became increasingly clear that quality metrics were being utilized within the industry to provide an early warning system related to availability risks. Mm-hmm. So the agency also recognized a blind spot related to manufacturing mature performance. So our current business processes, inspections, product quality defect reporting, things like that are focused on negative things and don't really have the transparency into more mature and positive things about manufacturers. And so then the agency then kicked off a collaborative relationship with industry, academia, and other stakeholders to design and operationalize a metrics program where industry would submit QM data on a routine basis. And this resulted in the publication of 2 draft guidances, multiple conferences, both hosted by FDA and industry, academic research, as well as a public meeting. And as the QM discussions matured, conversations started to shift away from a focus on numerical KPIs that were a big part of the quality metrics program to a more holistic approach that integrated metrics with other behaviors and attributes of an effective quality management system. And really honing it down to that the overall health of a facility cannot be summed up by just collecting a couple metrics that the FDA identified in their draft guidances, that it's a much more holistic approach to really capture quality.
Yeah, so it sounds like, the manufacturers who are displaying or working towards these more mature quality management programs are going to be rewarded. But we're also going to gather a lot of data and really start to understand what best practices look like. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and I think that goes on to some of the research the FDA has done as well, is to try to collect more data and get more feedback from industry and partner with academic institutions to collect that information, right? So we have more data-driven policy. And that was really a driver into, this shift away from focusing on just numerical KPIs and quality metrics to a much more enterprise level view to capture quality.
Yeah, which of course is really great for the organization too. So I love it. So of course, any valuation would only provide a snapshot of that point in time, as this pilot program runs on. So Jennifer, is the vision here to have multiple or ongoing on-site assessments?
Yes, definitely. So sustaining a QMM rating system would necessitate periodic assessments, so we're able to gauge the continual improvements a site has made over time. Because you're absolutely right, a QMM assessment would definitely be just a snapshot in time. Mm-hmm. So doubling down on what Alex started to say about quality metrics, we believe that quality metrics data are a key part of a mature PQS and really facilitate data-driven approaches to reduce quality issues. So having a quality metrics program would definitely be important to provide information about the quality of the facility and the manufacturing process performance on an ongoing basis and in between those quality management maturity assessments.
And so this quality management maturity assessment, and just to clarify for our listeners, is separate from any on-site reviews that might already happen, correct?
Yeah, it's completely different and separate from the regular inspection right. Paradigm.
Just wanted to, I guess that it was, but I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Nandini, what other elements have you identified as being critical to the quality management maturity paradigm as part of an organization's commitment to quality?
Stacey, first of all, thank you for asking that question. This is definitely an interesting question to answer. So undoubtedly, right, there are other critical elements to the quality management maturity paradigm. And clearly, quality metrics are being used throughout the pharmaceutical industry to monitor quality control systems and processes. So this use of a robust quality metrics program as a foundation for continual improvement of product and process quality has also been validated by an FDA-funded research conducted by St. Gallen University, which is a leading business university in Switzerland and has a program that has been benchmarking the pharmaceutical industry through years of surveying hundreds of pharmaceutical manufacturers. So clearly, quality indicators of performance and cultural excellence have been identified through this ongoing research. So I would say the FDA Quality Metrics Initiative seeks to gather data on certain key metrics to support continuous improvement and innovation in the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry. So the quality metrics will basically help the FDA perform data-driven and risk-based scheduling of drug manufacturing facility inspections, which could result in a decrease in inspection frequency for high performers. And as we all know, which would further incentivize continuous improvement. Absolutely. However, right, but we also feel, however, quality metrics are one of the several important aspects of quality management maturity, right? So quality culture is another important foundation for a mature quality management.
Right.
So quality culture is set when those who have responsibility for oversight and control over manufacturing take ownership for quality. So quality culture is demonstrated by organizations in which the objectives drive quality. So they're not separate business and quality objectives, they are linked together. And although it must be led from the top, staff at every level of an organization must contribute to the commitment to quality. So we believe a quality culture is necessary to achieve higher levels of quality management maturity, but there are other topics of consideration for quality management maturity, including areas such as business continuity, communication and collaboration, sustainable compliance, enhanced pharmaceutical quality system, manufacturing strategy and operations, customer experience, employee ownership and engagement, continual improvement, risk management, advanced analytical methods, sophisticated statistical techniques, usage of artificial intelligence-based technologies, of course, augmented by human intelligence and subject matter expertise, leveraging on machine learning-based predictive analytics, natural language processing. So overall, a very optimized business and manufacturing process.
Absolutely. I mean, it sounds like the QMM metrics are vast and that they're really going to be happening across the entire life cycle of the product. And this program feels like much more than a typical review then of quality management systems or just, a simple ranking as it may have sounded at the beginning. So Nandini, what does true quality management maturity look like then from the FDA perspective, and why is this so important?
Again, thank you, Stacey. That's a very insightful question. And I'm sure this question, is a burning question, which is on other people's minds as well. So quality management maturity is a state attained by having consistent, reliable, and robust business processes to achieve quality objectives and promote continual improvement. So meeting current good manufacturing practices, as we all call it, CGMPs, is nothing but the minimum standard for legally marketing drug products in the United States. So CGMPs assure proper design, monitoring, and controls for the manufacturing processes and facilities. However, fully realizing the pharmaceutical quality vision for the 21st century requires movement toward richer quality management systems. So therefore, QMM is not a discrete concept. It's an umbrella concept that includes a lot of other critical elements, the pharmaceutical quality system effectiveness, and many related aspects of business processes that enable manufacturers to basically monitor the signals, trends, and predict problem clusters and recurring patterns related to complaints, shortages, quality-related adverse events. So all these result in a targeted, prioritized, and proactive risk-based mitigation plans, right, which are driven by data and advanced analytics. So manufacturers and those with oversight and controls over manufacturing really take ownership for quality with a commitment to achieving higher quality management maturity. So I can highlight some of the key indicators of higher quality management maturity, again, which are not limited to what I'm highlighting because there are several more, but I would highlight a couple of those quality management indicators, which we can say things like management setting the tone of commitment to quality and
Right.
budgeting down, budgeting along with the adoption and integration of the same, because we see a lot of, pharmaceutical companies where there is budgeting done, but there is no scope for adoption and integration of that particular budgeting program. So investing in people, designing an optimized patient-centric experience from the outside in. Things like organizational objectives, which are critical to driving quality, thereby reducing the cost of quality. Quality systems, which shape the culture of the manufacturing site. Focusing on innovation and continual improvement with a strong sense of change and knowledge management. Moving towards more performance-based quality management maturity, having a robust metrics program, which is driven by, again, advanced analytical methods, sophisticated statistical tools and technologies based on artificial intelligence, augmented by human intelligence and subject matter expertise. All this will lead to a proactive risk management, mitigation, and planning, and forecasting using application of predictive analytics, state-of-the-art optimization, driving business and manufacturing excellence. ensuring the drugs and product supply are in a timely and effective manner, which are leading to a management of supply chain disruptions. So in short, to wrap it up, I would say manufacturing sites with higher quality management maturity would encourage innovation, incentivize good behaviors, have structured and open communication flow with stakeholders, and have an optimized patient-centric business development and growth committed to quality.
Absolutely. And it sounds like, and I know you mentioned it too, but they're really going to need to be good knowledge managers of their knowledge, right? And start to use that as an asset as they progress so that they can continuously improve. I would
Exactly.
say. Yeah.
Exactly. Very true.
So as we mentioned previously, the eventual adoption of QMM would deliver some incentive to manufacturers or API producers who improve their quality management systems using all of these tactics and that you just mentioned, Nandini. So Lyle, can you describe how this will work?
Well, certainly, Stacey. Yeah. So a transparent rating system could inform GPOs or group purchasing organizations and other purchasers about the state of QMM of a particular facility manufacturing the drugs they are purchasing. In the absence of transparency, cost minimization will continue to be the driver for manufacturers to maintain market share without reward for quality. So GPOs could potentially use the QMM rating system as a tool for prioritizing contracts, say with manufacturing sites that have a higher QMM, or potentially paying slightly more for a product from a site expected to have sustainable compliance and minimal supply disruptions. Manufacturing sites with a higher state of QMM could also benefit in other ways. As was mentioned earlier, an effective industry-wide QMM assessment program would enable movement away from the current management-based regulatory approach and burdensome regulatory requirements imposed on manufacturers, and move industry more towards a performance-based regulation. This could give those manufacturing sites with higher level QMM more flexibility in adopting new technologies, making changes, and improving their quality, resulting in research and cost savings through that. So achieving a higher QMM could allow a manufacturing site to improve product yields with less waste and inefficiencies, leading to increased savings, improve profit margins through that. And through quality management maturity assessments and feedback, corporate leadership will have the ability to gain insight into the operations of the agency outside the regulatory framework and provide opportunities for continual improvements. A higher level of QMM brings a holistic understanding of an organization. And stakeholders, they can help a manufacturer avoid the costs associated with losing customers due to supply disruptions or drug shortages. So there's many benefits in different directions and incentives as well.
Absolutely. Just a couple quick follow-up questions. So the ranking system, once obviously not during the pilot program, but once the program is rolled out to industry as a whole, is that made public for anyone to look up and find out where companies or organizations are ranked?
That's a very good question, and that's still to be determined. So, the utility of a QMM rating for stakeholders is going to vary, so depending on your role. So, that's really to be determined. We're getting feedback from industry, and we'll discover that throughout the process of developing the framework and really how to establish those ratings and put them out there.
Excellent. And my second question was just around timing, or I know obviously you're just in the midst of a pilot program, but is there a sense of when we might see this program start to be rolled out to industry?
At this point, it's still to be determined. So we'll get through the pilot phase and develop a good assessment tool, with lessons learned, feedback from industry. But there's still more we need to learn. So we're engaging with stakeholders out there to really get their feedback and understanding and see how this will impact the industry and the FDA in general and drug supplies and all that. So we're really doing a lot of background engagement with stakeholders and just really learning before we can set this out and make it a true functionally efficient framework.
Yeah, no, and that makes total sense. I know you guys are just at the beginning of this process, but I was just curious if there was like an intended target date, but.
No, we're hoping the sooner the better on the FDA side, because it's good for industry, but there's still some lessons we need to learn before we can roll it out.
Yeah, no, I love this. I mean, I know we're just talking about, with an overview here of this program because it is so new, but it sounds like it really is not only going to help organizations, improve their quality management systems, but really develop that culture, as you guys have been talking about, which is so needed. It needs to be a top-down effort, across organizations. And I think that this is a really positive program to help organizations kind of focus more on that.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
So
I agree. That quality, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that quality culture is truly foundational. So I agree, Stacey, exactly with what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I totally think so as well. So thank you. And Jennifer, as we wrap up today, I want to see what takeaways or ideas you'd like to leave with our listeners, because this has been such an informative overview. I'm excited about this program. So help us figure out what we're taking away with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, FDA is committed to ensuring that high quality pharmaceuticals are available for our patients, and that those patients are really confident in each dose of medicine that they take. So we envision that the quality management maturity rating system will really provide a more robust drug supply chain and a greater commitment to quality in the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry. And this will thereby lead to reduced potential for drug shortages. So we see this QMM rating system really as a winning solution for all of our stakeholders. From the agency's perspective, it's going to give us more information about the maturity of quality management practices at sites and really facilitate better decisions about resource allocation and regulatory flexibility. It really moves the agency one step closer towards performance-based regulation. From the company perspective, those with higher maturity will get recognition that the market can acknowledge. For purchasers and payers, they're really getting more insight into the supply chain of the drugs that they're buying or reimbursing. And most importantly, for patients and healthcare providers, they'll have greater confidence that high quality medicines will be available when they're needed. And that's key.
Absolutely, because this is not just for the drug makers, right? It's for anyone who's part of that process, the drug making process, if they're providing ingredients or if they're providing other services. So this is going to be a very comprehensive shift, it sounds like. Yeah. Definitely. Excellent. Well, I want to say thank you to all of you. It's been great to have you as our guests this week, this panel from the FDA. I just really, really appreciate all of you taking some time here today with us. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share more about our quality management maturity program.
Absolutely, and we can't wait to hear, we cannot wait for the updates, once you've reached the end of the pilot and have some more news to share. So that's great.
Definitely.
Excellent. So as I mentioned, really appreciate your insights and explanations on this promising program, as do our listeners. And we also want to give a shout out to our producer, Ben Kitchen. And most importantly, I'm sending out my thanks to you, our valued listeners. I appreciate your time each week, as well as your help in sharing this podcast. Together, we will continue to spread the word. As always, if you enjoyed today's episode, please remember to subscribe in your podcast player of choice and be sure to share it with your friends, colleagues, and online networks so they can enjoy it too. Please send us a quick note or leave an online review. We'd love to include your feedback with our networks. For show notes and additional podcast resources, please visit www.ivtnetwork.com. We'll be back again next week with another timely and useful discussion. Until then, make it a great week.